No one truly knows the exact day Jesus Christ was born. Not December 25th, not in the depths of winter, and perhaps not in the way we have always believed. For more than 2,000 years, Scripture has remained silent. No date, no number, only a space left unfilled. And it is within that silence that one of the greatest mysteries of Christian history was born. We were taught that Christmas belongs to December 25th. But where did that date come from? Not from the Gospels, not from the Apostles, but from history itself. There is a detail often overlooked. When Jesus was born, the shepherds were in the fields. At night, under open skies, exposed to the wind and the cold, yet in that region, shepherds remained in the fields only during the warmer seasons, which raises a quiet question. Could the birth of Christ have taken place far from winter? And there is more. An imperial census, ordered by Caesar Augustus, required families to return to their ancestral homes, to travel great distances, across rough terrain. Through open land, would such a command have been enforced during the harsh winter months? History suggests otherwise. Then there is the light that appeared in the heavens, the Star of Bethlehem, a miracle, or a rare celestial event. Some believe it was the convergence of brilliant planets, a radiant alignment visible across the ancient skies, a sign strong enough to guide those who are watching and waiting. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Every year, as December rolls around, the world lights up. We see nativity scenes, sing carols, and exchange gifts, all centered around one specific date, December 25th, the day we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. But have you ever stopped to wonder, was Jesus actually born on this day? It's a question that has intrigued historians, theologians, and curious minds for centuries. The answer might surprise you, and today, we're going to dive deep into the historical and biblical clues to uncover the truth. So, where did December 25th come from? If you open up the Bible, you won't find a single verse that says, Jesus was born on December 25th. In fact, the Gospels of Matthew and Luke, which give us the most detailed accounts of Jesus' birth, are surprisingly silent about the exact date. They mention shepherds in the fields watching their flocks at night. This detail has led many scholars to question a winter birth date. Why? Well, in the region of Bethlehem, December can be quite cold and wet. It would have been unusual for shepherds to be keeping their flocks out in the open fields overnight during the coldest part of the year. They would more likely have kept them in shelters. This little detail suggests a birth in a milder season, like spring or fall. So if the Bible doesn't specify the date, how did we land on December 25th? To find the answer, we need to travel forward in time, a few hundred years after Jesus' life. The earliest Christians actually didn't celebrate Jesus' birth at all. Their main focus was on his death and resurrection, which is what Easter is all about. It wasn't until the 3rd and 4th centuries that the church started to formally commemorate his birth. The first recorded mention of December 25th as the birth of Christ comes from a Roman almanac in the year 336 AD. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Why that specific date? There are a couple of leading theories. One very popular theory connects the date to a major Roman pagan festival called Sol Invictus, which means the unconquered sun. This festival was celebrated on December 25th, right after the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. It was a celebration of the sun god being reborn as the days started to get longer again. The idea is that as Christianity grew within the Roman Empire, the church may have chosen this date to offer a Christian alternative to a popular pagan holiday. It was a way to redirect the celebrations towards Jesus, who is referred to in the Bible as the light of the world. It was a brilliant strategy, in a way, to make it easier for people to convert to Christianity without giving up their beloved winter festivities. Another fascinating theory is called the computation hypothesis. This one is a bit more complex, but it's based on ancient Jewish tradition. Some early Christian writers believed that great prophets died on the same date they were conceived. They had calculated that Jesus died around the time of the Passover, which is in the spring. Based on their calculations, they fixed the date of his death to March 25th. If he died on March 25th, according to this tradition, he must have also been conceived on March 25th. Now, if you count 9 months forward from March 25th, where do you land? birthday on December 25th. So, this theory suggests the date wasn't about copying a pagan festival at all, but was based on a theological calculation tying his birth to his death and resurrection. So we have the shepherd clue suggesting it wasn't winter, the Sol Invictus theory, and the computation hypothesis. But are there any other ideas? Absolutely. Some scholars have tried to pinpoint the date using the astronomical event mentioned in the Gospel of Matthew, the Star of Bethlehem. They've looked at historical records for comets, supernovas, or unique planetary conjunctions. Some have suggested a conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn around 07 BC, while others point to different celestial events. The problem is, none of these line up perfectly with the December date, and they often point to other times of the year, usually in the spring or fall. Another clue some people look at is the census mentioned in the Gospel of Luke. It says, "A decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered," which is why Joseph and Mary had to travel to Bethlehem. Historians have struggled to find a record of a single, empire-wide census that would have required Joseph to travel. There were regional registrations, but dating them precisely and matching them to the gospel narrative is incredibly difficult. And even if we could, it wouldn't tell us the exact day, just a general time frame. So, what does all this mean? Does it matter that December 25th is probably not Jesus' actual birthday? For most Christians today, the answer is no. The exact date is not what's important. What is important is the event itself, the belief that God came to earth in human form. The date is symbolic. It's a time set aside each year to reflect on the message of hope, peace, and love that the story of Jesus' birth represents. It's a tradition that has been passed down for nearly 1,700 years, and it has become a powerful cultural and spiritual anchor for billions of people around the world. Think about it like this. We celebrate our own birthdays on a specific day, but the celebration is about more than just marking another year. It's about celebrating the person, their life, and our relationship with them. In the same way, Christmas has become the designated day for the world to celebrate the person of Jesus and the impact of his life and teachings. It's a time for family, for giving, for charity, and for reflecting on the spiritual meaning of the season. Whether Jesus was born in a chilly December cave or on a warm spring evening, the core message remains the same. The historical detective work is fascinating, and it reminds us that history is often complex and layered. But it doesn't diminish the faith or the traditions that have grown around the story. It simply adds another layer to our understanding. So this holiday season, as you see the lights and hear the carols, you'll have a new perspective. You'll know that the date, December 25th, is a piece of a much larger historical puzzle. A blend of Roman festivals, theological calculations, and centuries of tradition. The true reason for the season, as they say, isn't found on a calendar page. It's found in the story itself, and the meaning people continue to find in it, year after year. Thanks so much for watching and exploring this topic with me today. It is a great reminder that there is always more to learn about the stories we think we know so well. If you found this interesting, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into history and faith. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about the origins of Christmas? Until next time, take care. Ever wonder where Jesus was actually born? We all know the classic nativity scene, a cozy wooden stable with Mary, Joseph, Jesus in a manger, surrounded by donkeys and sheep. It's a beautiful image, one we see every Christmas. But what if I told you that the Bible doesn't actually mention a wooden stable? What if the real birthplace of Jesus was something completely different, and maybe even more humble? Today, we're going on a historical and biblical detective journey to uncover the truth behind Jesus' birth. We'll dig into the original texts, explore ancient traditions, and look at archaeological evidence to piece together a more accurate picture of that first Christmas night. Get ready, because what we find might just change the way you see the nativity story forever. Let's start with the Bible itself. The Gospel of Luke, chapter 2, gives us the most detailed account. It says that when Mary and Joseph arrived in Bethlehem, there was no guest room available for them. So Mary gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger. Notice what's missing: the word stable. The original Greek word used in Luke's Gospel is kataluma now. This word is often translated as inn, which naturally leads us to imagine a sort of ancient hotel that was fully booked. But kataluma can also be translated as guest room or upper room. In fact, in other parts of the New Testament, like the story of the Last Supper, the same word is used to describe the upper room in a private house. So, why is this important? Because it suggests that Mary and Joseph weren't turned away from a commercial inn. It's more likely they were staying with relatives, which was a very common practice. Bethlehem was Joseph's ancestral hometown, so it makes perfect sense he would seek shelter with his family. The problem wasn't that a grumpy innkeeper said no room. The problem was that the family's house was already packed with other relatives who had also come for the census. The kataluma, or the main guest room, was full. This is where the manger comes in. The text is very clear that Jesus was placed in a manger, which is a feeding trough for animals. So, if they weren't in a separate stable, where were the animals? In ancient Palestinian homes, especially in hilly regions like Bethlehem, it was very common for a family to live in a house that was partly a cave, or had a lower level dug into the hillside where they kept their animals at night. This kept the animals safe from thieves and bad weather, and their body heat would rise and help warm the family living in the upper level. So, the picture that emerges is not a separate, freestanding wooden barn, it's a bustling family home. Mary and Joseph, unable to find space in the crowded main living area upstairs, would have been given privacy in the lower level of the house, the part where the animals were kept. It was a space carved out of the limestone rock, a cave-like room, and right there, among the family's animals, was a stone or clay manger. This was the humble, private space where the Son of God was born. This cave theory isn't new. In fact, it's one of the oldest Christian traditions we have. As early as the 2nd century, around the year 155 AD, a Christian writer named Justin Martyr wrote that Jesus was born in a cave near the village of Bethlehem. He was born in Palestine and was familiar with the area, so his testimony is incredibly valuable. Another early church father, Origen, also wrote in the 3rd century that the cave in Bethlehem where Jesus was born was a well-known site, even to people who weren't Christians. The tradition was so strong that when the Roman Emperor Hadrian wanted to suppress Christianity in the 2nd century, he deliberately built a pagan shrine to the god Adonis over the very cave believed to be Jesus' birthplace. His plan backfired. By marking the spot, he inadvertently preserved its location for future generations. Then, in the 4th century, when Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity, his mother, Helena, traveled to the Holy Land to identify important biblical sites. Guided by local tradition, she identified this very cave. Constantine then ordered the construction of a magnificent church over it, the Church of the Nativity. This church, which still stands today, is one of the oldest continuously operating churches in the world. And if you visit Bethlehem today, you can go down into a grotto beneath the main altar. This grotto is the very cave that ancient tradition has honored for nearly 2,000 years as the birthplace of Jesus. The floor is marble, the walls are covered in tapestries, and silver lamps hang from the ceiling. But beneath all the decoration, you can still see the natural rock of the cave walls. A 14-pointed silver star on the floor marks the spot where tradition says Jesus was born. So why do we have this image of a wooden stable? The idea likely became popular in Western Europe centuries later. In places like Germany or England, farmers kept their animals in wooden barns, separate from the house. So, when people read the story, they naturally imagine the scene in a setting they were familiar with. Artists in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance painted the Nativity in these wooden stables, and over time, that image became the standard. Saint Francis of Assisi created the first live nativity scene in the 13th century, and he used a stable, which further solidified the image in popular culture. But understanding the original context, the birth in a humble cave-like space, adds so much depth to the story. It wasn't an impersonal, cold stable. It was the lower level of a family home, filled with relatives. It was a place of humility, for sure, but also a place of family and community. Jesus was born not on the margins of society in some forgotten barn, but right in the heart of a family home, just in its lowliest part. This picture of a cave birth emphasizes the humility of the moment even more profoundly. Jesus wasn't just born in poverty, He was born in the most basic, earthy part of a human dwelling, a space shared with animals, carved out of the very rock of the earth. It's a powerful symbol of God entering our world in the most humble way imaginable. He came down to the very foundation of human life. So, this Christmas, when you see a nativity scene, maybe you'll see it a little differently. The wooden stable is a beautiful symbol that has connected people to the story for centuries, and there's nothing wrong with it. But knowing the historical likelihood of the cave adds a new layer of meaning. It reminds us that the story is not a fairy tale. It's rooted in real history, in the real customs of a real place. The Son of God was born in a simple, rocky shelter, in the midst of family, in the humblest of circumstances. And that truth makes the story even more incredible. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the birth of Jesus. It's amazing how much more we can appreciate these stories when we explore their historical context. If you found this interesting, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more explorations into history and faith. What other biblical stories would you like to see us investigate? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Tonight, as the stars twinkle above, let's journey back in time, over 2,000 years, to uncover the mystery behind one of the most famous celestial events in history, the Star of Bethlehem. What was this mysterious light that guided the Magi to a humble manger? Was it a miracle, a myth, or a real astronomical event that we can explain today? Let's find out. The story, as many of us know, comes from the Gospel of Matthew. It tells of wise men, or Magi, from the east who arrived in Jerusalem. They asked King Herod, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." This star, it seems, was no ordinary star. It appeared at a specific time, moved, and then stopped and stood over the very place where the young child was. For centuries, this story has captivated believers, astronomers, and historians alike. Is it purely a symbolic tale, a literary device to signify the importance of Jesus' birth? Or did the Magi witness something real in the night sky? The quest to answer this question has led to some fascinating theories, blending science, history, and faith. Let's start by putting on our astronomer hats. If the Star of Bethlehem was a natural event, what could it have been? One of the most popular and long-standing theories is that it was a comet. Comets are these cosmic snowballs of frozen gases, rock, and dust that orbit the sun. As they get closer to the sun, they heat up and spew gases and dust into a glowing head and a long tail. They can be incredibly bright and visible for weeks or even months. Ancient observers, including the Chinese, were meticulous record keepers of the heavens. And indeed, Chinese and Korean astronomers recorded a comet in the constellation Capricorn in 05 BC. This timing is pretty close to when many scholars believe Jesus was born, which is actually a few years before the year 01 AD. A comet would certainly fit the description of a spectacular moving star. However, there's a problem with the comet theory. In ancient cultures, comets were almost universally seen as bad omens. They were harbingers of disaster, war, famine, or the death of a king. It seems unlikely that the Magi, who were highly respected astrologers, would interpret a sign of doom as heralding the birth of a divine king. So, while a comet is a visually dramatic candidate, its cultural meaning just doesn't quite fit the narrative. So, if not a comet, what's next on our list? How about a nova or a supernova? A supernova is the explosive death of a massive star, an event so powerful it can briefly outshine an entire galaxy. A nova is a similar, but less dramatic, explosion on the surface of a white dwarf star. Either of these would appear as a new star suddenly blazing in the sky, where none was before. Again, we turn to our ancient astronomical records. Chinese observers did record a guest star in the spring of 05 BC, in the constellation Aquila. Some have suggested this could be our star. It would have been a new, bright object, just as Matthew describes. However, like comets, these events didn't typically have the positive astrological meaning we're looking for. More importantly, Matthew says the star went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. A supernova, or a nova, being incredibly distant, would appear fixed in the sky with all the other stars. It wouldn't appear to move against the background of other stars, or guide the Magi to a specific house in Bethlehem. The physics just don't support that kind of apparent motion. This brings us to one of the most compelling and widely discussed scientific explanations: a planetary conjunction. This is when two or more planets appear to get very close to each other in the sky from our perspective here on Earth. These events aren't supernatural. They're a predictable part of the beautiful clockwork of our solar system. The great astronomer Johannes Kepler, back in the 17th century, was one of the first to seriously propose this. He calculated that a rare triple conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn occurred in the constellation Pisces in the year 7 BC. A triple conjunction is when the planets meet, separate, and then meet again 3 times in a short period. Now this is where it gets really interesting. Let's break down the astrology, which for the Magi was their science. Jupiter was known as the king of the planets, representing royalty and kingship. Saturn was often associated with the Jewish people, and the constellation Pisces, the fish, was also linked by some ancient astrologers to the nation of Israel and the end of an age. So, imagine you're a Babylonian Magi. You see the planet of kings, Jupiter, meeting with the planet of the Jewish people, Saturn, not once, not twice, but 3 times in the constellation associated with Israel. This would be an incredibly significant celestial sign, pointing directly to the birth of a powerful new king in Judea. It's not a single, flashy light, but a series of profound events. This theory aligns beautifully with the Magi's actions. They saw the first conjunction in the east, which prompted them to begin their long journey. The journey to Jerusalem would have taken months. By the time they arrived and spoke to Herod, the planets would have been moving in the sky. When Matthew says the star went before them, it could be describing the planet's apparent motion as they traveled south from Jerusalem to Bethlehem. And what about the star standing over the house? Some astronomers have pointed out that planets, due to Earth's own motion, appear to slow down, stop, and reverse direction in the sky, a phenomenon called retrograde motion. It's entirely possible that Jupiter reached one of these stationary points in its path right when viewed from Jerusalem, appearing to hang motionless in the southern sky, directly over the village of Bethlehem. There was another remarkable planetary alignment around 02 BC, involving Jupiter and Venus. Venus is the brightest object in the night sky after the moon. When it and Jupiter came together, they would have appeared to merge into a single, brilliantly bright star. This event also has strong astrological significance, with Jupiter the king planet and Venus the mother planet. Some scholars favor this event, as it places Jesus' birth closer to the traditionally accepted date. So we have comets, supernovas, and planetary conjunctions. All are plausible natural events that occurred around the right time. The planetary conjunction theory, especially the one in 07 BC, seems to tick the most boxes. It explains the astrological significance, the journey of the Magi, and even the star's apparent movement and stopping. But, we have to be honest, all of these scientific explanations require a bit of interpretation. Matthew's account says his star, singular, a conjunction is 2 or more planets. Matthew says it led them to a specific house, which is difficult for any celestial object to do. An object in the sky can point you to a town, but pinpointing a single building from miles away is another matter. This leads us to the final possibility, that the Star of Bethlehem was not a natural event at all, but a supernatural one. A unique, miraculous light, created by God for a specific purpose. For many people of faith, this is the most straightforward explanation. It doesn't need to conform to the laws of physics or astronomical precedent because it's, by definition, a miracle. In this view, the star could have been a localized, brilliant light, perhaps something like the pillar of fire that guided the Israelites in the book of Exodus. It could have moved low in the sky, independent of the celestial sphere, leading the Magi directly to their destination. This explanation honors the text exactly as it's written, without trying to fit it into a scientific box. It embraces the story as a testament to the divine nature of the event it proclaims. So, where does that leave us? We have compelling scientific theories that show something extraordinary was indeed happening in the heavens around the time of Jesus' birth. The triple conjunction of 07 BC is particularly powerful, offering a narrative that aligns with the history, astrology, and text of the Gospel. At the same time, we have the theological perspective that views the star as a pure miracle, a divine signpost that defies natural explanation. And perhaps, the truth isn't an either-or situation. Could it be both? Could a natural, predictable astronomical event set in motion since the dawn of time have been divinely appointed to reach its climax at that specific moment in history, to be interpreted by wise men who are prepared to understand its meaning? It's a beautiful thought, where science and faith don't conflict, but instead converge to tell a single, epic story. Ultimately, the exact identity of the Star of Bethlehem may remain a mystery, and maybe that's part of its enduring power. It invites us to look up at the night sky with a sense of wonder, to ponder the great questions of the cosmos and our place within it. Whether it was a comet, a conjunction, or a miracle, the star served its purpose. It led the Magi on a quest for truth, and it announced to the world that something incredibly significant had happened in a small, unassuming town. It's a story that continues to inspire hope and awe, reminding us that even in the darkest of nights, a single light can show the way. What do you think? Do you lean towards a scientific explanation, or do you believe it was a purely supernatural event? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I love reading your perspectives on these topics. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through history and the cosmos. If you enjoyed this exploration, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into the mysteries of our world. Until next time, keep looking up. Who really visited the baby Jesus first? If I asked you that question, you'd probably say the three wise men, right? It's what we see in nativity scenes, on Christmas cards, and in countless holiday movies. But what if I told you that popular image might not be the whole story? What if the first visitors weren't kings from the east, but a group of humble, everyday workers? Today, we're going to dive into the biblical accounts to uncover the surprising truth about the very first people to greet the newborn king. This story is more than just a piece of trivia. It reveals something profound about the message at the heart of the Christmas story itself. So, grab a cup of hot cocoa, get comfortable, and let's separate fact from tradition. To get to the bottom of this, we need to turn to the two Gospels that describe Jesus' birth, Matthew and Luke. It's fascinating because they actually tell two different visitor stories. It's like watching the same major event from two different camera angles. Matthew's Gospel tells the famous story of the Magi, or the wise men. Luke's Gospel, on the other hand, tells the story of some local shepherds. The key to figuring out who was first is to look at the timing and details in each account. Most people mash these two stories together in their minds, creating a big nativity scene with everyone shepherds, wise men, camels, sheep all, gathered around the manger at the same time. But the text suggests these were two separate events, possibly happening days, or even years apart. Let's start with the account in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2. This is where we meet our first group of visitors, the shepherds. Luke tells us that on the night Jesus was born, there were shepherds in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks. Now, being a shepherd in those days wasn't exactly a glamorous job. They were often seen as outsiders, common laborers living a rough, nomadic life on the fringes of society. They were ritually unclean, according to some religious standards, meaning they couldn't just walk into the temple to worship. They were the ordinary, working-class folks of their day. Suddenly, an angel of the Lord appears to them, and the glory of the Lord shines all around. Understandably, they were terrified. Who wouldn't be? But the angel gives them incredible news, saying, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord." The angel then gives them a specific sign to look for. They will find a baby wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger. A manger is just a feeding trough for animals, which tells us just how humble Jesus' birth was. Right after that, a massive choir of angels appears, praising God. It must have been the most incredible sound and light show in history. So what do the shepherds do? Luke tells us they said to one another, "Let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has told us about." Notice their urgency. They didn't wait until their shift was over. They didn't form a committee to discuss it. They hurried off and found Mary and Joseph, and the baby, who was lying in the manger, exactly as the angel had described. The text says they went with haste. This detail is crucial. It happened right away, on the very night of Jesus' birth. After seeing the baby, they went out and spread the word about what they had been told and what they had seen. They were the first evangelists, the first people to share the good news. Now, let's switch over to the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 2. This is where we find the story of the Magi, often called the wise men, or the three kings. Matthew tells us that after Jesus was born in Bethlehem, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem. The first thing to notice is the phrase after Jesus was born. This doesn't specify how long after. It could be days, weeks, or even longer. The Magi are a mysterious group. The term Magi originally referred to a priestly caste from Persia, known for their knowledge of astrology and dream interpretation. They weren't kings in the traditional sense, and the Bible never says there were three of them. That tradition comes from the three gifts they brought: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Their journey started because they saw a special star in the sky. They interpreted this as a sign that the King of the Jews had been born, and they traveled a great distance to worship him. But notice where they go first. They don't go to Bethlehem. They go to Jerusalem, the capital city, and to the palace of the current King Herod. It makes sense, right? If you're looking for a newborn king, you'd start at the royal palace. They asked King Herod, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." This question throws King Herod and all of Jerusalem into a panic. Herod was a notoriously paranoid and ruthless ruler, and the idea of a rival king was the worst possible news for him. He gathers the religious leaders and asks them where the Messiah was supposed to be born. They quote the prophet Micah, who foretold that the ruler would come from Bethlehem. So Herod secretly meets with the Magi, finds out when the star had appeared, and sends them to Bethlehem, telling them, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him." Of course, Herod had no intention of worshiping Jesus. He wanted to eliminate him. After leaving Herod, the star the Magi had been following reappears and leads them directly to the place where Jesus was. Now, here's another really important detail. Matthew's Gospel says the star stopped over the place where the child was. And when the Magi arrived, it says they went into the house and saw the child with his mother Mary. Notice the words, house and child. Luke's account uses the words manger and baby. The Greek word used for child in Matthew typically refers to a toddler, not a newborn infant. This, combined with the fact that they are now in a house, not a stable, strongly suggests that a significant amount of time has passed since Jesus' birth. Joseph would have likely found more permanent lodging for his family after the initial rush of the census was over. So, when you put all the pieces together, a clear timeline emerges. The shepherds visited Jesus on the very night he was born, while he was a newborn lying in a manger. The Magi, on the other hand, arrive much later. How much later? We get a clue from King Herod's horrific reaction. When the Magi don't return to him, they were warned in a dream to go home by another route. Herod becomes furious. He then orders the execution of all male children in and around Bethlehem who were 2 years old and under. He based this age limit on the information he got from the Magi about when the star first appeared. This suggests that Jesus could have been anywhere from a few months old to nearly 2 years old when the wise men finally found him. So, the definitive answer to our question, who visited Jesus first, is the shepherds. They were the first to hear the announcement, the first to see the newborn Savior, and the first to share the news. The wise men came much, much later. But why does this even matter? Is it just a fun bit of Christmas trivia? I think it goes much deeper than that. The order of these visits reveals something incredibly powerful about the message of Christmas. Think about who the shepherds were. They were the humble, the poor, the socially marginalized. They weren't powerful, wealthy, or educated. Yet, God chose to announce the birth of the Savior to them first. The very first birth announcement for the King of Kings was sent to the palace in Jerusalem, or to the high priest in the temple. It was delivered in a field to a group of lowly shepherds. This tells us that Jesus came for everyone, especially for the ordinary and the overlooked. His kingdom turns the world's values upside down. The first are last, and the last are first. Then, you have the Magi. They represent the other end of the spectrum. They were Gentiles, non-Jews from a faraway land. They were wealthy, educated, and influential enough to get an audience with King Herod. Their long journey shows that the message of Jesus isn't just for one group of people or one nation. It's for the entire world. From the very beginning, God was signaling that this Savior was for the Jew and the Gentile, the rich and the poor, the simple shepherd and the learned scholar. Everyone is invited. The shepherds represent the humble invitation to the people of Israel, and the Magi represent the global invitation to all nations. So, the next time you see a nativity scene with the shepherds and the wise men all crowded together, you can smile, knowing the real story is even richer and more meaningful. It's a story of two very different visits, at two different times, to two very different groups of people. And together, they paint a beautiful, complete picture of what Christmas is all about. That the good news of a Savior is for everyone, no matter who you are, where you're from, or what your status is in life. The first visitors were humble locals, and the later visitors were distinguished foreigners, and both knelt to worship the same King. That S, a message of hope and inclusion, that S just as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this fascinating detail of the Christmas story. If you enjoyed this, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into stories you thought you knew. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Did you know the shepherds were first? See you in the next video.